All right, good morning, e-learners. Here we go.
Wait, can they hear us? Oh, look,
They-
dust devil.
They can hear us.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. All right, you guys are being a little bit too chit-chatty for me. Get all their wiggles out so we can get going here. All right, here we go. Who remembers where we left off? Go. So we were talking about this chocolate vanilla thing about something about expressions. All right, quick review. An expression is a combination of, help me out.
It's a combination of letters and numbers or separated by an expression.
Separated by an operation symbol. Give me an example of an operation symbol.
A minus sign.
Minus sign or a plus sign, multiplication or division. So we're talking about expressions. It's just numbers. I'll use the right term here. Variables. He said letters, right? Variables. Numbers or variables are a combination of both, separated by an operation symbol, plus or minus, multiplication or division. It doesn't have to be 2. It could be 3, 4, 20, right? You won't see 20, but you will see tonight for homework. You'll see, count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things possible, right? So about that many. And they're separated by operation symbols. All right. Let me click through and we'll catch up. I believe we left off on the ice cream, right? I showed you the picture of the ice cream. A quick reminder when you do your homework, make sure it looks like this. It has your name, my name. I teach 2 7th grade classes. So your period 4, the date, the section, you're doing 1.1, right? Write the problem, you do all the work vertically, and then you circle your answer. Okay. Your homework does not look like that with just answers. Yes. Your folder?
Yeah.
So you need a sheet of paper. I know, but we're gonna write more now. Okay. So if we get to book, right, and we will by the end of class, we'll finish early today. You can use partner's book. Okay, so here we go. Let me get to, oh, you want to see puppies again? Puppies. All right. Enough of puppies. I would rather look at ice cream. Remember, variables, right? Variables and expressions. 2 numbers, 2 variables, combination of both, separated by the operation symbol. We pay attention. Stop passing notes, please. If you're not an expression, you're an equation or inequality, right? An equation has 2 expressions, the left side and the right side, separated by equals. So these are equations, these are expressions. You can turn an expression into equation. 2 plus 3 equals 5. Now you turn an expression into an equation. Yes?
So equations are then
Literally, you see an equal sign. You just see an equal sign, right? Now, the other one is if you see an inequality, it's called math gang symbols, right? So if you see a math gang symbol, greater than, less than, that sort of thing, that's also not an expression. All right, I don't know if this is exactly where we left off, but this is where I'm going to pick up. So we're on box 3B. So expressions come in 2 flavors. I don't know if this is chocolate or vanilla, but we'll call it chocolate. The first one is all you have is numbers, just numbers. So you're going to have numbers separated by operation symbols, a plus, a minus, a multiplication, division. We call those numerical expressions. Makes sense. There's just numbers involved. Good job. Just numbers involved. So for instance, I got a 2 and a 3 separated by a plus, right? That's a numerical expression. I got a 2 and 3 separated by, got to be careful, right? That's not an X, that's a multiplication symbol. Numerical expression, right? What's that? Go ahead. Yeah, I got a variable, so it can't be a numerical expression. You can have no variables in a numerical expression. Once again, you can have no variables in numerical expression if all you have are numbers and operation symbols. So I should make that a darker color. Hopefully you can see that online, learners. But the ones in blue are the numerical expressions. These down here, right? Sorry, these down here are not. Therefore, we need to give them a name. What are we going to call them? We're going to call them vanilla, right? Except we're going to use another letter that begins with V, not vanilla, but we're going to call it variable expressions. So a variable expression is, well, we wouldn't say the opposite of numerical, but it would be the other. There's only two flavors, variable and numerical. So if you just have numbers, numerical. If you have 1 or 2 or an infinite number, we call it a variable expression. Now, I will leave it up to you whether or not you need to write that definition. Because people in period 1 said, wait a minute, this looks exactly like the definition in box number. Somebody. It's the same definition, right? A combination of numbers and variables separated by operation symbols. So they're like, why am I writing this down? It's the same. Yeah, you're right, it is the same definition. But now we can either say, well, it's an expression, or if we want to be more precise, we can say numerical or variable. The only one you got to be careful with is the fact that numerical can only have numbers. A variable expression just needs to have 1. It could have 2 or 3 or 4, but it doesn't have to be only variables. It could have some numbers in there as well. Who's lost? Guess what the first, I think, 3 questions on the quiz will be? Go ahead. Not what's an expression, but I will give you expressions and simply ask you, is it a variable or numerical expression? Pretty simple, right? How do you identify something that's a numerical expression? What do you got?
It doesn't, wait, it's just an equal sign.
No, then it's an equation. So these are going to be expressions. How do you know if it's numerical? Somebody help me. How do you know it's numerical?
A numerical is obviously numbers.
Just numbers. How do you know it's a variable expression? Go ahead. At least one variable. Okay? So, what is it? Variable or numerical? Numerical. There's only numbers. What is it? Variable or numerical?
Numerical.
What is it? Variable or numerical?
Variable.
What is it? Variable or numerical?
Variable.
All right, I'm talking too fast. What is it? Variable or numerical?
Numerical.
Who's lost on that? You got to be brave. Okay, so have you ever heard the word, this is day 2 for you, right? You ever heard expressions before? I meant day 1, not day 2. Day 2 for them. Have you ever heard expressions before? Okay, so they come in 2 flavors. Either they only have numbers, or there's a letter, right? Except we call it not a letter, we call it a variable. If they have nothing but numbers, you're like, wait, no, that's not a letter, that's the multiplication symbol. If there's just numbers, they're numerical, but if there's any letters, variables involved, we call it variable. And that's the whole thing. There's nothing more. I'm not saying what is it equal, what do you do with it? It's just names. Fred and Tom, or Sally and Sue. Okay? All right. We good to move? All right. So what? Get it? All right. So what? Well, the so what about this is that we can do things with variable and numerical expressions. Okay, well, let's think about just the numerical expressions. What can you do in the back? What can you do with a numerical expression? Take a guess. You can actually do the math. Now, here's where math people get crazy and we give names to this. Like, instead of just saying, well, just do the math, we give it a name. Anybody know the name of doing the math? It's called? Yeah, but I want one name that includes both of those. It's called?
Equating.
It's not called equating. It's called? I like that word. I'm going to give it a different word. He said calculating. That is true. I'll tell you one word it's not. It's not solving. I'm not going to solve this. I'm going to do the math. 2 plus 3 is? That process of what you just did that you've been doing since kindergarten is called box 4. No, it's not called box 4. Write this in box 4. It's called to simplify the expression. You're like, well, I thought it was just do the math. Yes, you're right. It's do the math. It's calculating the answer. It is what she said. You're getting an equation out of it. Yes, if you actually do the math to a numerical expression, you will wind up with an equation. And that process is called simplifying. So the definition says the process of rewriting an expression in its simplest form. 2 plus 3, isn't it more simpler or simpler? Use good language. Isn't it simpler to write 5 rather than 2 plus 3? You're supposed to say yes. I mean, don't you agree? 2 plus 3, it's easier to write 5. So this process of turning that expression into that equation is called, so we don't typically think about that. We say simplifying means do the math. When you do the math, you're going to put an equal sign. But remember, 5 is easier to write than 2 plus 3. They're both the same, which is why we can write an equal sign. That's what equation means. It means the left side equals the right side. So you can simplify a numerical expression. It turns out you can simplify a variable expression. It will be a few months before we learn that. Tonight for homework, right, you're going to be simplifying numerical expressions. Questions 1 all the way, 1 through 8 are all, they give you a numerical expression and they say simplify. It just means do the math. Get to an answer. Yes?
What does the bottom two words say?
These?
On the
Simplest form. Simplest form. It just means, look at me, take an expression that's this long and you turn it into something that long. It's simpler. It's easier to write 5 than 2 plus 3. Well, I don't know. Too many things to remember. We'll get to it at the very end. I always show the homework at the very end. All right. I don't want you to write this down. I just want you to remember. All right. An equation is equation now. This is now an equation is when the left side equals the right side. You can put that symbol. That means they're both the same values. We're okay? All right. So let's simplify. Let's do some of these. All right. I purposely picked numbers that you probably can't do this. Some of you might be able to. Most of you can't do this in your head. Yes? All right. A blue square means that we do this together. So let's do this together. You ready? All right. We're going to do the upper left one first. This is not a class on long division, multiple, or how to multiply, how to add or subtract. This is a class on how to simplify. Okay? If I start doing this, you're like, wait a minute, you're going too fast. I don't know how to do long division. I need to see you for tutoring. Okay? Here we go. 81 and 62. Let's see. All right. 81. Below it, I wrote 62. I'm lining up the decimal places. There are no decimals here, but there could be. And I add. Let's see. 1 plus 2 is 3. 8 plus 6 is 14. I got 143. What'd you guys get?
Same.
All right. So I would put equals 143. Circle my answer. Okay? All right. I would like for you tonight, when you do your homework, to write your scratch work as close as possible to the problem. If it's way off to the side and you get the question wrong tomorrow, you're not going to be able to see, what did I do wrong? Bottom one, when you multiply, you put the one with the most digits on top, 13, the one with the least digits on the bottom, and you multiply. 8 times 3, 24, carry your 2. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. I got 104. What did you guys get? I could be wrong. You get points if you catch me in a math mistake. All right, 104. Division, long division. What goes inside, 148 or 4?
4.
It says 148 divided by 4, so it's the opposite of what you think. So 4 goes on the outside, 148 goes on the inside. We need a decimal place, maybe, I don't know, let's see. 4 goes into 1 0 times. Do you guys put zeros to put a dash, or you skip it? Some people like to put a dash. Some people like to put a 0. Some people don't do anything. Any of those are fine. This is the scratch work. 4 goes into 14, what, 3 times? 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract. 2 from 4 leaves a 2. Bring down by 8. 4 goes into 28 7 times. I'm getting 37. What do you guys get? Once again, I'm going to say this. This is not a class on long division. If that's what you're weak on, see me for tutoring. We're not going to spend any class time doing that stuff. In fact, this is the only time you're ever going to see me do long division, day 1, day 2, right? All the other times I'm going to say, well, what's the answer? Okay? All right, so 37. Last one. Remember subtraction? Unlike addition, where either number could go on the top, subtraction, the first number has to go on top. So let's see, 209 minus 46. The tens place lines up, the ones place line up, and we subtract. 6 from 9 is a 3. 4 from 0 you can't do, so I need to borrow. That becomes a 1. That becomes a 10. Some people write the 1 right here. Just be neat when you do this. 4 from 10 leaves a 6. And 0 from 1 leaves a 1. I got 163. What'd you guys get? All right. Questions? This was not a class on adding, multiplying, dividing, or subtracting. It's a class on simplifying. Yes? And remember to circle your answers, correct. I get a lot of people that are really good. They'll bring a highlighter and they'll highlight their answer. That same deal. And that's why I put these in yellow. I'm not saying you have to highlight anything. Circling answers perfectly fine. All right, we got this? Okay, tonight for homework, everything we do is going to be simplified, even though I'm about to teach you something new. Okay? Remember I said I was not going to go over the objectives until after we're done? Now we're done. So is this a true or false statement? You now know how to simplify numerical expressions. Okay. So last one, evaluate. Let's see what that is. There's a big but here, right? And the big but here is, what do you do with variable expressions? How do you simplify a variable expression? Well, here's a variable expression. Simplify it. What's the problem? How come I can't simplify 2 plus x? What do you got? I don't know what x is. X is a variable. It could be any number. So how do you do that math? This will get complicated as we go on longer in the year, but for right now, the answer is you can't do anything. So, therefore, we must be doing something else. In the big math world, there's 4 terms. The first one we just did, simplify. 2 other words, one solve, one is factor. And we got this second one, which we're about to do. What we're about to do is something, whatever's going on in the back there, it needs to stop right now. Yes, both of you? Thank you. All right. It's called evaluate. Write this down, please. Box 6. Box 6. It's called evaluate. Evaluate handles the problem that he said. He said the problem was, well, I don't know what x is. I'm going to tell you what x is now. I will give you a value to plug in for x. Then you can simplify. So evaluate is the process of substituting a value for the variables and then simplify. So it's basically what we just did with one extra step. I got to tell you what to place in for each variable, and there could be more than one. So for instance, on number, 26 I'm looking at, there's 2 variables on number 26. So I need to tell you what to place in for 2 different variables. Now this will happen in 2 different ways. One, they will literally tell you in the instructions, let x be the value 1, or they will have some notation that will say the same thing without words. I'm going to show you both ways. Quick question? It says the process. Oh, I left off the word of substituting values for variables and then simplifying. I'm going to fix my mistake here. The process of there. Okay. Somebody actually caught that period 1. I didn't change it. The process of substituting values for variables and then simplifying. Quick example. What does it say? Can we simplify that? Not unless you tell me what x is. So now I'm going to tell you what x is. Notice what I do. Big space. It says let x be the value 4. It says wherever you see the letter x, what do I write? Do you see an x? So what am I going to write? So I'm literally going to erase that x and write. So it's called a substitution. So what's the answer? You just evaluated. That's it. It's not any more complicated than that. The difference is this can be done a couple different ways. Here's one way. Let me back up. They write the original expression, put a big long space, and then they tell you what they want the letter to be, or letters, variables, right? Okay. This is one way. What I like to tell my students, it just simply means do the math, right? Remember, simplifying just means do the math. Okay. So let's evaluate. Here's the second way. In the instructions, and I believe, notice on questions 15 through 22, this is how they present the problem. They will present multiple problems, and the instructions will tell you what numbers to plug in, right? So it says if you see the letter M, what are we supposed to write? If we see the letter N, what are we supposed to write? But you got to be careful. What does this say? No, what does this say right now? It doesn't say MN. What does it say?
3 and
Oh, it
318.
says
318.
it says M times N. If it said MN without the multiplication symbol, you'd write 3 and an 18 or 318, but that's not what it says. It says, you had it right. It says M times N. So when I do the substitution, I write 3 times 18. Does that make sense? You can get yourself into big trouble. Go ahead.
Can I have Grace Chudley to the office, please?
On their way.
Thank you.
You can get yourself into big trouble if you don't look at the problem first. You don't get any problems with this. Like, you don't forget the plus symbol. You'll forget that means multiplication. You're right, 318. Okay? So the rest is the simplifying step. 3 times 18 is a number, and that number is 54. Yes?
So, if 2 letters are together without any sign.
Multiplication. Always means multiplication. Okay? What does this say? Oh, by the way, we're doing box 7. I should see that's moving. M plus N. What's the letter M?
3.
It's 3. What's the letter N?
18.
And I should say variables, right? Not letters. So that's really 3 plus 18. Stop me if you're confused. You got to be brave. I have no idea what you're doing. No idea whatsoever. Or, okay, I got this. Nobody's going to be brave and say, I'm lost. But it could also mean that you're not lost, too. Okay, 3 plus 18 is, go ahead.
21.
Now, where you'll probably get, and this is more of a homework, teacher thing, is you'll get used to, it says MN, and then they'll flip-flop it around, and you'll make a silly mistake type thing. So just be careful. This doesn't say M minus N, it says N minus M. So what am I supposed to write? See what I mean? See how easy that was to do, right? And I even told you were going to make that mistake, right? And she made that mistake. Thank you for making that mistake, by the way. So what should I write?
18.
So just be careful, right? Be careful. And don't make a silly mistake. Because the answer is 15. Yes? Go for it. I got to get used to teaching 7th graders again. 9th graders like, ooh, I got black on my hand. All over my face. 7th graders are like, I can't exist. I must wash. Right? I'm not gonna. This is the one year I'm not gonna stop any kid from washing their hands. Trust me on that. All right, Soraya, last one. What am I doing? Yeah, but tell me what to do. Agreed, what you said. Okay, she said divide 18 by 3. I'll just say this. We are rapidly progressing to where we won't see the symbol by the end of the year. And we'll use a fraction bar, right? Most likely. This is weird. And it's also weird because you got to think about, wait, what am I dividing by? It's kind of hard. You write a fraction bar, there's no doubt of what you're dividing by. All right, 18 divided by 3 is 6. All right, I'm just going to bring this up now. if your math facts are not strong, if you had to think about this answer, guess what you need in front of your face every day of class? Nice one. Yes. If you can't do this in your head immediately without thinking, guess what you need in front of your face and not a calculator? You need to print out at home a multiplication table. I'm not teaching you your math facts in this class. You're expected to know your math facts. Now, do I have some graders who don't know their math facts? Absolutely, right? My goal is by the end of the year that you don't need a multiplication table in front of you, but some of you still do. And I also want to get rid of the stigma of, I'm just telling you right up, you can have a multiplication table in front of you. If you don't know this off the top of your head, have one next to you so that you can get this right quickly. I'm not teaching you multiplication, addition, subtraction, or division this year. I can tutor you, but I'm not teaching you in class. Okay? I'm teaching you how to evaluate, simplify, solve, factor, all that jazz. Right? We okay? All right, do a more challenging one. How can I make this more challenging, by the way? I mean, how do I make this more challenging? More digits, bigger numbers, more variables, right? Okay, this is the second way this is presented. The second way is when they want you to evaluate more than one number. Everybody looking at the board? This is what this means. There's the expression. 4, is that 4n or 4 times n?
4 times.
And I want you to evaluate it not for one number, 3 numbers, one at a time. You got it, right? So this is really 3 problems, not 1 problem. I want you to evaluate it for 1, 3, and 5. This looks like numbers, is it here? Yeah. This looks like numbers 9 through 14. 9 through 14, this is what it looks like. So it's a sneaky way of them getting you to do more math problems. All right. Madison, what's the first thing I'm supposed to be doing here? For this one right here on the left? Okay. Eyeballs up here, Madison. What's the expression?
4 times n.
Okay. So you need to know what the letter n is. There are 3 numbers here. You're going to do 1 number at a time. So what's the first number I'm going to do?
1.
So what do you want me to write?
4 times 1.
Which is?
4.
Okay. And you got another number. Keep talking.
4 times 3. 12.
Keep talking.
And then 4 times 5, which is 30.
20.
20. Yeah, there you
All right. Confused or not confused now?
No.
See how easy that is? Madison was brave. She was about to be not brave, but then she was like, okay, he's going to make me be brave. And I was brave. And I don't get this. That is, from a math teacher perspective, that is the best thing. The only thing that's going to be accompanied with is the attitude that I will try. There's going to be plenty of times when like, I don't know what you're doing. If I had not called on Madison, though, my suspicion is she would not have asked. Right or wrong, Madison?
Right.
Okay, so that's what you got to work on. It's not good to sit there and be confused. It is good to sit there and, 4 times 5 is 30 because that's not what we're dealing with an evaluation. That's just a silly math mistake there. But she knows what she's doing now, so you got to be brave. Question?
I forgot my question.
That was quick. Confident, not confident? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so do we do anything after that?
Nope. Nope. You want to do the next one?
Sure.
Do it.
Okay. 10 plus 10.
You got it. And then
10 plus 20 is 30.
who's confused? It's going to come 3 different ways. I'm going to go back a slide. You ready? It's either going to look like this, right? Where in the instructions, this is like questions. This is like questions 15 through 22. They'll tell you what they want to plug in there. Or it'll be like questions 9 through 14, and it will look like this. Okay? It's going to be one of those. Yeah.
Is it okay if we use like cross instead of the dot?
I want to keep you from, I want to get used to not doing that. I would rather use parentheses personally, because you will see parentheses way more often than the dot or the X. Okay? This year we will see the dot and the X frequently, but from course to pre-algebra and onwards, it's almost always parentheses for multiplication. Okay?
So you'd rather us use the dot.
Sure. Last period, I had some people say the dot looks like a decimal point, so they were a little confused, so you just gotta be careful. All right, that is
Why?
that's not Jackie Chan, that is before Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee. All right, so
I'll tell second.
more challenging. How can I make this even more challenging? How can I make this harder? What?
They're giving us no numbers. They're giving us, well, almost all no numbers. Giving
Oh,
us-
you mean, okay, like that.
Yeah, like that.
All I gave you was variables. All right, what does this say right here?
2 times 3 times 5.
He's even jumping ahead. If you didn't know that, what does this say?
X times Y times Z.
Yes? This does not say XYZ, because if it did say XYZ, the answer would be 235, right? Correctly, he said it's 2 times 3 times 5. Can you multiply 3 numbers together at the same time? 3 or more numbers together at the same time. Can you do that? Bless you. Wash your hands. Can you multiply 3 numbers together at the same time? You can't. How many numbers can you multiply at one time? Just 2. So we're going to go left to right. Right? 2 times 3,
No.
2
Yeah.
times 3, times 5.
30.
Just so you know, that mistake right there, that's called a silly. Sometimes I will be rude, and I do not mean to do this. I'll say, oh, well, when I do it, that's a stupid math mistake. I don't literally mean that you are stupid or I am stupid. I just mean, oh, man, that was just silly, right? I truly need to work on that and say silly more than that. Silly math mistake is few points taken off. If you write 235, that is completely, totally wrong, right? But if you write 2 times 3 times 5, I see it all the time. 2 times 3 is 5 because they're thinking addition for some reason. I know what you did. That's just a silly math mistake. Certainly that's not an A work, but that's clearly B work, right? You know what you're doing. You just made a silly math mistake. All right. This is probably as complicated as it gets right here, right? So what does this say? Go ahead. Okay. So we're going to need to either use an X or dot or parentheses when we write that, right? And then that's divided by 2 times Z, whatever Z is. So that's the whole thing written out. Yeah.
The answer's 3.
So he says it's 3. You want to bet that he's wrong? You trust him already?
He's smart. I'm not.
Never assume that the smartest person in the class will get it right. Always check the work. He's probably right, but always check the work.
He's right. I just right.
All right.
I did it.
So when you say that you did it and he's right, I like that answer. But don't assume that anyone, although he's probably right. Let's see. 5 times 2,
30 divided by 10.
divided by what? And that's why he's wrong. Left to right. 5 times 2. What's the very next thing it says?
Divided by 2.
It doesn't say divided by 10. It says divided by 2.
Oh.
Let me catch up with you.
Oh, because there's
It
not.
doesn't say 30 divided by 10. It says 30 divided by 2. What's 30 divided by 2? I did not pay him to make that mistake, by the way. 15 times 5 is not 3. 75, sorry.
Really? Why did you make me do that?
So he did good math and got the wrong answer. Why did you make that mistake, by the way? You did not follow. No, you did not follow the very next thing we'll learn, which is called, it's going to be tomorrow, not today, order of operations. Do you remember PEMDAS?
Yeah.
What does PEMDAS say for multiplication division? Does it say do it in any order you want? It says go from left to right. So that is a common mistake. It's just sitting there, 2 times 5, I know the answer is 10. You really want to write 10, but you have to go left to right. We'll talk about that next class, or maybe it's the class after that, one of the two. We okay? Never assume that the person that typically gets an A is right. Always do the work yourself. Every one of you are ready to agree with him.
Yeah, because like we did it,
You were wrong. Right. And no, I did not pay him to make that mistake.
Not this time.
I will never pay you to make mistakes. How about that?
Really?
All right.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Is this a true statement now? Do you know how to evaluate? All right. We get out of here at we get out here at 11:20, so we got a solid 7 minutes left. You got 7 minutes to get started on your homework. Get your stuff out, get started.
Wait, can you tell us
Oh yeah. Homework is right here. This is due tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yes. Go ahead. Then you'll turn it in the next day I see you. Yeah. You need a math book, don't you? You don't have one. Sure. No. Tomorrow's your birthday? Nice. 1 second. Math book. It's not your first name. It's not R-Y-L-E-I-G-H. Yeah, I gave you the wrong one. Sorry.
I feel stupid.
You're in course two. That's next year.
Wait, we're just doing it. Okay. I'm writing my notes.
So written exercise is 2 and it's 30.
Even.
We have to do all the even.
Yeah.
2 to 30.
Riley, I'm gonna get you one before the end of the day.
9.
Yes, ma'am.
My birthday is on Thursday.
Thursday, you'd be very embarrassed if we sang in class.
Honestly, I don't care. Do what
Okay,
you want.
we will. Yes.
I have a cake in my house.
I need it.
Yes.
Maddie's birthday is tomorrow.
What is like coordinated birthdays in here?
It's on Tuesday next week.
Wow. That's a whole. When you guys are juniors, you guys will all be like driving cars before anybody else.
Really?
I said when you're juniors. All right, e-learners, if you have any questions about anything that went on in this class today, make sure you ask, send an email. If you need any help, get a hold of me.